what you want is a business down the road 5 years from now that is a passive business, something that you guys are kind of absentee owners on, that you don't have to show up to work every day. To build that model, highly recommend looking into the recurring side of the lawn care and landscaping industry, which is typically more maintenance, because when you build that out, you sell the customer one time and ideally you retain them for 2 or 3 years. You could find somebody that is like, yeah, I'm willing to work 1 or 2 days a week in the beginning when you only have 5 or 10 customers. If you can find that, that would be gold. All right. So today we have Kevin. He's also another local Texan. Kevin, welcome on.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Kevin, maybe help kind of fill me up to speed on kind of like where you're at in business. I know we were talking a little bit before this, but how you're kind of working a day job and trying to grow this thing on the side. Yeah, kind of fill me in on kind of where you're at in business, where you want to go, where you want to take this, and then we can see how I can help.
Sure. Yeah. So I started this with a friend of mine. So he actually started the company in COVID. So in 2020, and I think he's mowed maybe 10 lawns since then. We both have 3 kids and a wife, and heavily involved in church, and both working, high demand full-time jobs. So during COVID, he started the company and then didn't do anything with it. And then about 6 months ago, he reached out to me and said, "Hey, let's build this together. Let's see what we can do." And so I said, "Sure, let's go with it." I built us a website, started trying to play around with my business profile, or the Google business profile, and just trying to get any kind of organic flow to the website that I can. And then outside of that, we're just kind of doing word of mouth to talk to people and see what we can drum up. So it's unique from what I've seen you deal with in the past, or people that you've talked to in the past, because I'm not able to be out 40 hours a week doing the work, right? And so that's really where most of my questions come from, is as 2 guys that are trying to build this thing, how do we do it without being boots on the ground? Now, we're aware that profit may not come right off the bat, right? That's okay with us. This is more of a long-term 5-10 year thing. Maybe our kids, as they grow up, they start taking over and doing stuff with it. So we're just trying to grow this thing without putting any profit we can back in the company, and then paying our guys that are doing the work, paying them well so that they stay around, and as it grows, they can fill the spots, and 5 years down the road, really be making some profit off of it. And then it would be nice then to also be pulling in some passive income from it.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, that's an amazing goal. So just so I have this understanding correctly, you and your business partner are not going to be boots on the ground. You both are just kind of like on the back end, almost like absentee owners trying to get this thing up and running. Or is he going to be the one that's the boots on the ground to at least kind of get it started?
He will be a little bit. I have to keep reminding him that the company's not going to go anywhere if we're depending on him to be the boots on the ground, because he's working full-time job. He's the elder at the church. He's, leading our men's ministry. So he's got 12 things going on outside of it. So what we would accept responsibility for is like whatever lead generation we can do that's not putting flyers on doors, and then training and, some maintenance of the stuff. Whatever we can do that's one-off, we'll handle it. But neither one of us can do boots on the ground during the day. And then to add to that, my family lives in an RV right now. I'm not even really completely in Austin. We're traveling around the country. So I'm going to be out where I can't do anything except for remote stuff. So he will be here, but we're dependent on the guys we're bringing in to do most of it. We're close with youth ministry at church, and I've got a bunch of high school guys that I'm probably going to start with, bringing them in. And I've kind of looked at the P4P stuff. I haven't really dug into it too much, but I want to be able to pay them based off budgeted hours, I guess is the best way that I can come up with to entice them to go faster. Right. And to give you an idea of where we're at right now, we've got 2 lawns that are biweekly right now. And we've done 1 yard clearing where the stuff was up to your waist. The yard was up to the waist, and we cleaned that out, and then did some tree work too.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Okay. So there's a couple ways that you can kind of slice this up. I think in the beginning, I actually just did a recent coaching call with somebody who's also working a full-time job that wants to build this on the side, almost really ideally as an absentee owner, to where he doesn't have a lot of time to go out there and do it. So there's a couple different ways that you can kind of slice this up. I think it's good that you guys are getting organic traffic or building the model to obtain that stuff, i.e. the website, Google My Business, stuff like that. That's going to be really, really important. I think in the beginning, like the real beginning, it does obviously help to have some kind of boots on the ground, even if it's like 1 day a week. whether that be him. It sounds like he might, I know he's really busy, but if that's not an option at all, what you could do is look at partnering, and I say partnering, not actually giving like equity or anything, but just figuring out a good model at least at the beginning, to where you can maybe have a different company, ideally with unmarked trucks, kind of do a 1099 to get you guys started, to where it's like, hey, right now we've got 2 customers. We're trying to get 25 this season. Do you guys, will allow you guys to mow those lawns? What ideally you would want is somebody that is in an unmarked truck, because you don't
Yeah.
want them branding other businesses and stuff like that. And they're out there. So just a self-contractor, maybe, just trying to make a living. And that would be the ideal, because what, like, in the beginning, from like 0 to 50 customers, it's really like, it's just a grind. It is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so if you don't have the boots on the ground and people doing the door hangers, like, your guys are going to have to rely on like organic traffic and maybe some marketing. Once you start making a little bit of money, you got 15, 20 customers. Okay, keep rolling that back into like branding online, so you can acquire customers and then contract those out as a 1099. Then you guys don't have to worry about payroll, anything like that. Now, ideally down the road, you want to build a real true business where you're not just sending those lead or the customers out to a 1099 contract, because you're not going to make a lot on that when you do that. But you don't have enough volume yet to go out on Indeed and ZipRecruiter and find a legitimate ops manager that you can pay 30, 40, 50K a year, 60K a year, to manage a couple employees, manage the routes, schedule and dispatch. Like, you don't have that yet. In the likelihood, I mean, and maybe you could find somebody that is like, yeah, I'm willing to work 1 or 2 days a week in the beginning when you only have 5 or 10 customers. If you can find that, that would be gold. But most people, they want at least probably 3 days a week, if not 5 days a week, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I literally just did a coaching call with that. And so eventually you're going to want to get to the point where you do have a legitimate W-2 employee working for you. And that's where it gets really exciting, where you can get your own trucks, you can get the logo, and it also depends right now on how much capital you guys have to put into this thing. If you guys are kind of just bootstrapping it from the ground up, that might be a smoother path. Hey, let's 1099 this out. Let's call the 5 and 10 local lawn companies near me. Let's get them on the phone and say, hey, we want to build a business. We're gonna get the customers. We're gonna tell you which ones need to get done this week. We're gonna give you the list. They get it done. They can charge you guys. You guys charge the customer, and then you can do that. Then you don't have to worry about payroll. You don't have to worry about trucks and equipment, stuff like that. So, how much revenue? Maybe I should ask this at the beginning before giving all this advice. How much like capital do you and your partner have to like put towards this thing?
So we've got a second business that we've got going, and we can pull from that if we need to. So altogether, we could get 40,000 if we needed to, but obviously we want to leave that in the other company as much as possible. So we are starting out with a truck. We have a Toro Time Master lawnmower, and then we've got all the saws needed to do tree trimming and clean that up, along with a power washer that he has too. That when he started that 5 years ago, and it's been sitting, right. So I just replaced the carburetor on the Time Master, got new blades, and got that thing up and running. So we're sitting with the equipment and tools we need to have one crew running, right. And I assume the reason you're asking is because how much do we want to put towards marketing, right? I mean, it's probably a big thing, but
honestly, that if you already have the truck and the equipment, then it sounds like you're going to lean more towards hey, we need to truly hire somebody, bring them in house as a W-2, train them the way that we want, and let them really run the business. And, ideally you would want to pay them and incentivize them with what you want. And so you could build out a 3-year plan, right? A 36-month plan. Hey, in year 1, this is what we can pay you, but these are the goals and the benchmarks we must hit, right? In order to pay you that. And if you don't get that, unfortunately, that's going to affect the incentives. But
yeah,
the pay will heavily rely on the actions and the results. And so, I do think you could build something where you give them a small base pay of like, hey, Bottom line is, if we don't get any customers tomorrow for the next 6 months, you'll for sure make this, but that's not what the goal is here. We want to pay you well. We need somebody here that we can invest into, that we can build this thing long-term wise and have this thing grow. And as it grows, your paycheck too will grow, as long as we hit these benchmarks. And so you can build out a, 1 year, 2 year plan, at least 2 years for them, and say, hey, this is what we can do in year one. These are how many recurring customers we need. And then you can also make revenue goals, stuff like that. And then in year two, it'd be the same thing. But you just want to align what you want. And what you want, ideally, it sounds like, is a business down the road 5 years from now that is a passive business, something that you guys are kind of absentee owners on, that you don't have to show up to work every day. And so to build that model, highly recommend looking into the recurring side of the lawn care and landscaping industry,
Yeah.
which is typically more maintenance, mowing, weed control, monthly flower bed services. Because when you build that out, you sell the customer one time, and ideally you retain them for 2 or 3 years. That would be the goal. And so that's
Right.
what I would incentivize that person that you hire based on. It's great if they go out and sell a $500 landscape job. Like, kudos,
Mhm.
like, great job. But ideally, we want to build a model that, like, we don't have to continually sell all the time, And so you would just want to align that, so that way when you're not there, he's incentivized, like, hey, let me put out more door hangers. Maybe you can give him. So what we do at our company is $50 per customer that signs up from a door hanger. So we give them a
Okay.
base pay of 18. So, like, hey, you're going to go out and do door hangers all day today for 6 hours. We're going to pay you $18 an hour. But for everyone that calls and signs up, we'll give you another $50. And so these guys are making sometimes like $30 an hour handing out door hangers in the right season. And people are calling and signing up left and right. So, like, you don't have to worry about them throwing out the door hangers in the garbage and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. That's one of the questions I had was it's June now. I mean, I didn't know there was a spring rush until about 3 weeks ago, and so do door hangers still work this far into
Yeah,
the summer?
1000%. We
Okay,
we started our business in May, mid-May.
okay,
You can acquire customers probably all the way up until maybe, I'd say, end of August down here.
okay, okay,
Because September is when the second week of September, typically mid-September, is when the temperatures start to tail off and cool off here. You will definitely now it won't be as much. Like, if you put out 1,000 door hangers in March, you will get a lot of calls. If you do 1,000 door hangers now, you might get a few calls and maybe book a customer or two.
okay.
Which is still okay. But, it's baby steps, and we're going in the right direction. Yeah. I mean, you got the truck, you got the equipment. Honestly, even taking like half of that, what we do in our business, because money is so important in the beginning, right? You
Yeah,
only have
yeah,
so much capital to use. And for you, it's 40, which you don't want to use all of that, right? You want to keep a little bit of a nest egg. What I would do, honestly, Kevin, is I would maybe see if I could find somebody on Indeed that could work maybe 1 or 2 days a week. And I think it would be, honestly, a temporary thing. I don't think you're going to get an all-star who's going to come out and work for you for a day or two. I just don't see that happening yet.
yeah, yeah.
But you can incentivize him to do door hangers. And so that way, if we could get, you have 2 customers right now.
Yep, 2 customers.
If we could get like 15 or 20 by the end of the season, to me, that's a win.
Okay, okay.
So, like, especially like after the spring rush and all that, like, hey, can we hire somebody 2 days a week to do door hangers, mow these lawns, incentivize them if we acquire a customer heavily? Like, maybe you give them $100 a customer. Like, we just
Right.
need customers,
Hmm.
and that way we can get something going. And
And our
then,
pricing would also need to mirror or to support that goal, right? I mean, we don't really care to a degree. We don't care what the price of the lawn is as long as we get the customer in,
yeah, in the
right?
beginning, you're gonna burn money. It just is
Yeah,
what it is
yeah.
to get it off the ground. But
Okay,
eventually, so next spring, when that window of opportunity comes up, what I would recommend that you do, if it were me, I would probably take half of that, what you got in the nest egg, and take
okay.
$20,000 and dump that into marketing. I
Okay.
would it at the right time.
Yeah.
I'd be running I would get door hangers. I would do maybe some EDDM. I would do some Facebook ads, and I would test it. I would do a batch of each 20.
Okay.
But we typically pour about $20,000 into each location in the spring that we're really trying to ramp up.
Okay.
I'll give you our numbers. So, and I'm talking basically like March and April. That's
Right.
your window, and I would dump it all out in that 8 weeks, all 20,000.
So and separate it up into like an eighth of it each week, right? So run a test for a week, see what happens, and then either
Yeah,
continue that or switch to something else.
yeah, and like
Okay.
getting logos on the truck is a piece of that. If you don't
Okay.
have that already, like
I have magnets
perfection.
right now, but
Yeah. So vinyl stickers is a good thing. If you can afford the wrap, you take 2 or 3K there and
mhm.
put even a partial wrap. Even a
Okay.
partial wrap will do wonders. It will do wonders for you. Yeah, you do it. You make that, and then it lasts for typically 4 to 5 years. It separates you. You're a professional. Everywhere you go, it's a moving billboard. But yeah, the numbers that I look back at our second location, even our first one, they're pretty similar. So we started off this year with I think like 52 customers, maybe 55 in Salina,
Okay.
maybe 60. And we got up to I think 120 this year. And we
Wow.
put
Okay.
I think 15 to 20K into marketing in March
Nice.
and April. And those are all recurring, by the way. Those don't even include any one-time like these are recurring customers that like ideally we should have for the next 2 to 3 years as they stay and we continue to service their yard.
And
So
that's with about 20,000 in marketing for the
yeah,
rush.
20,000
Okay.
done strategically. So
Yeah.
in the first week or two, like March 1st, let's start it. Hey, let's have somebody doing door hangers for 4 hours. Let's send 3 to 5,000 flyers out through EDDM. Let's start running a Facebook ad for $30 a day. Let's run Google ads for $25 a day, have Google local service ads running. And like you've got all of these avenues, and like every single week, ideally, you have a CRM and we're tracking this. You guys are really, really busy. So you're probably going to need an answering service. But
Yep. Yeah.
you can work with them to ask the right questions that they need. There's certain, depending on your software, whether you go like Copilot's Service Autopilot, Yardbook, it doesn't matter. I would find answering service that you can that uses the CRM that you use, and then based on that, you have them ask, hey, how did you hear about us? We have to know how they heard about us.
Okay.
Otherwise, we're just throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks,
Yeah.
which I've done before too. But it's better if you track it, because then after 2 weeks, you'll go back and see, okay, we booked 5 to 10 customers already in 2 weeks, and 7 of them came from door hangers. So guess
Okay.
what I'm going to do? I'm going to pour the other $15,000 I have into door hangers and acquire as many customers as I have.
Okay. Makes
I've
sense.
wasted a lot of money not doing that. So definitely ask the question once you get their name, phone number, email, address, and they want a quote. Hey, just out of curiosity, how'd you hear about us? Gotta ask that question.
And I should put that on the website too, right? Have a
100%.
field
Yeah.
on my contact. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. If they're submitting information, you can go look at ours. Yeah. Those are the core pieces of information. Put that form at the top of the website. Make it very easy for people to fill out that form for you, and ideally
On
give
the
you money. So
on the homepage, like first
yep.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
First thing.
All right.
First thing.
Cool. All right. And then, so going back to the hiring somebody for 1 to 2 days a week. I mean, one advantage we do have is it's summertime and there's high school kids that are looking to make extra money. So would that be a good choice to, high school kids, a family friend, so we know the character of the kid?
I think for this season that will work to
Okay.
get you by. Me personally, I've spent money all year before. Not all year. I've spent money in the spring. I spent money in the summer, and I've spent money in the fall. And I didn't really spend a lot of money in the winter because I knew it wasn't going to make good money. What I have learned is that you will acquire the most amount of customers for the least amount of money when the demand is the absolute highest, which is in
Right.
March and April. And I did this before. We used to spend money in the fall. We're like, oh, we got to keep our guys busy and leaf cleanups. Like, let's start to market, like put out signs and door hangers for leaf cleanups. I am telling you, if you only have, and in the beginning, like nobody has just boatloads of money. Even now, like I don't want to spend money in the summer and the fall to get a subpar return on the money. I'd rather wait and save that
Yeah.
money, that reserve, that nest egg that I have, and pour it in when it all matters. And so I think this year, if we could just get by and get 15 to 20 customers, again, to me, that's a win, because
Yeah.
that
Okay.
now you can start off next spring with somebody to work part-time 3 days a week, 2 to 3 days a week. And then on the other 2 days that he's not actually doing yards, we're doing door hangers.
Okay.
And he'll do that until he fills his route. And then next spring, the faster you get through up to like 80 to 100 customers, the better. Because the reality is this, is if we don't pour that money in when it really matters, and dry and get up to like 2 team members where you need, or at least 1.5. If you only have one guy in the truck and that guy doesn't show up or is sick or calls off, Kevin's not stepping in. Your business partner's not stepping in. You guys got full-time jobs. So
Right.
it gives you more room for margin and error, because I mean, we're dealing with human beings and there's
Yeah.
emotions and people get sick and people get injured. And so you're kind of putting your eggs all in kind of one basket with one guy if you slow play that. So that's why I said, if we can get to like 20 customers this year, I'm confident with 20K done properly, there's no reason you guys shouldn't be at 80 or 90. Like
Okay.
come like May/June.
Perfect. That sounds great.
Yeah, yeah. And
Considering, I
and
mean,
yeah, and I mean
that's both not
there's
even being in a truck. I mean, no
it,
boots on the ground. That's pretty incredible to me. Yeah.
exactly. And there's compartments to that, right? You're going to need a phone service company, and you're going to pay for it, but
Yeah.
you're only going to pay for it when you use it, which is nice. And because
Okay.
you guys probably aren't going to be answering the phones and stuff like that because you guys are working. But yeah, just finding. Do you guys have a CRM currently?
I signed up for Quote IQ, just testing it out. I know there's Jobber and all the other ones, but Quote IQ's the estimating software seemed to be real nice, but I don't know if it's. I mean, you can give me your opinion on it.
I've never actually used that one.
Okay.
But if before you really sink your teeth into one, I would call a few phone answering services and see, like, just to make sure that people support that software
Okay.
and
Okay.
that they can answer the phone, send the customer an estimate over the phone, so that way you don't have to. Yeah, that's very, very important, because some phone answering services don't support certain CRM. So you just want to make sure you pick the right one that
Sure.
somebody can
Okay.
support you on.
It sounds like Copilot's a pretty popular one, right? Like, if I'm
It's
wanting to be safe and
it's a
just
newer one.
is it
So
okay?
to be honest, I don't know if there's very many. We use it currently, but we
Okay.
don't have a phone service. We do have an answering AI assistant that answers our phones, but it doesn't do much more than take a message.
Okay.
Um, So I know, service autopilot is pretty complex, and man, that's like a full-time job trying to figure that out anyway. I don't think I would recommend that one. There's probably some that you use Yardbook. I think Jobber's a fairly simple one and very universal. So
Yeah.
maybe you can just check, between those 3 or 4. Yeah, you just want something that's simple and that also that they can manage as well for you.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Had a couple of other questions. One one big one. I don't know if this is big or not, but talking with my CPA about the other company, I told him, "Hey, we're starting this lawn business company," and she was telling me that that some of this stuff requires tax, sale or charging tax, and some does not. Is there? I've never seen. I've been a customer before, and I didn't pay tax whenever somebody cut my lawn. Is there tax on lawn maintenance or tree trimming, and how often is that skipped over? How do you present a $50 lawn to a customer and then also at the end of it invoice them and have tax on it?
Yeah, great question. So, and I know the answer to this because I'm in Texas. So, Texas is a state that does require us to charge sales tax if, and the laws might have changed. Don't quote me on this, but definitely maybe ask ChatGPT, look it up.
Okay.
When I was looking into it a few years ago, if you made more than, I think it was 6,500
Mhm.
annually, any kind of lawn service slash landscaping services, If you make more than that in one fiscal annual year, we are required to charge sales tax, or at least pay sales tax. So
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely charge sales tax to the customer. Otherwise, it comes out of your pocket. So this year, I think, and again, this is not tax advice, so check with your CPA, stuff like that.
Right.
You'll probably be fine. You'll probably be under that mark, so to where you don't have to charge sales tax just because you've got only a handful of customers. But next season, for sure, especially if you're going to pour 20K into marketing in the
Yeah.
spring. And then as far as how do you kind of pitch that to the customer? So in all of your estimates down at the bottom in any CRM, you should be able to put like estimate notes, universal notes on no matter what estimate goes out, that we are required by the IRS to charge sales tax. So
Okay.
and then the software should be able to show the subtotal and then sales tax. Also, probably a good idea to put on the website. So if a customer ever bats an eye on that, or like puts up a, hey, why are you charging me sales tax? It's like, hey, we are required to on all lawn services if we make over $6,500 a year. So yeah, that's
Okay.
how you would kind of get around that. But
I mean, and there are guys that aren't doing it, right? Am I correct to assume that?
yeah, for sure. I mean,
Okay. Okay.
there's guys out there that are just taking cash, that are doing this under the table, and maybe just a chuck in a truck. And like, I mean, it sounds like you are wanting to build a professional company, and
Yeah. Yeah.
unfortunately, to do that, we are required to charge
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
stuff.
I just want to be
You know,
able to present that to the customer in a way that's not like, and I like the idea of doing it up front. That way they know, oh, I'm going to be charged for this, and I guess other people should, right? Versus it just showing up one day and then, well, last guy I used didn't do that. Why is this here, right?
yeah, and
So
I would use that, like, if I had that objection over the phone, I would say, "Well, that's the exact reason why you're calling me today, is because that
there you
guy
go.
stopped showing up." We
Right.
are a professional, reliable, and communicative company that will be there every single week, like, no questions asked, and
Perfect.
so yeah, yeah, but, yeah, I've every once in a while, I have a customer that gives me a little kickback on the sales tax, and you know what I do? I just agree with them. I say, "You know what? You're right. I hate paying sales tax too. If I could take it
Yeah.
away for you, I would." Unfortunately, Uncle Sam, he wants
Yeah.
his cut of it. So
Nice. Okay. Cool. Well, man, that covers everything that I had. I'm sure in 3 weeks I could ask you about a million more questions, but those are all you covered everything I had for this one.
awesome, man. Yeah. And then just to kind of wrap this up, I think you guys are crushing it. There are a lot of people out there that will value a lot from this video that want to be absentee owners. And again, if we can get to 15, 20 customers this year, that's a win. And then what I would do, because that 20K will go pretty quickly next spring, especially when you have to pay somebody to
Yeah.
go out there. If you could, I would try to save every last dollar you get from those 15, 20 customers this year,
Okay.
and set that aside also, because
Yeah.
you're gonna need it. You're gonna need it in the spring for sure.
I guess one more question for you. In here in Austin or in Texas, right? Is there any winter? Like, how do you weather the winter lull? Is there anything to
Um,
do?
yeah, so we do something called winter services. So,
Okay.
for those two like mowing customers that you have currently, what we would do is just send an email out in November, end of November, and just say, "Hey, look, for the next 3 months of December, January, and February, we're shifting over to a winter service rotation." What does that mean? It means basically we're going to stay on our biweekly rotation, and these are the 5 core services that we are going to do. We are going to pick up leaves. Leaf cleanup season is in like November, December. We're
Mhm.
going to pick up leaves off the lawn. We're going to trim your bushes. We're going to pull weeds and grass. We're going to prune back any like light pruning of trees, and then I forget the 5th one, but yeah, basically that's what we shift to. Why is this beneficial to the customer? Why should they keep paying this? Well, simple. We want to keep your property looking good year round, and we don't want you to get hit with a super hefty bill of a spring cleanup in the spring time frame, to where you have to spend hundreds of dollars to get your lawn up to speed in the springtime. And so the other good thing too, in the positive, and this is how I sell it to customers, is it is optional. So hey, if you don't want it, that's cool. We can opt out. We'll start back March 1st. That's when our mowing season starts back up. We'll pause your
Okay.
services in December, January, February, and then we'll just be there March 1st. We'll send you an email, let you know we're coming out, but we'll just pick back up where we started. And then also, this is an easy sell when you do this because you want them to stay on winter services. We don't really ask them. We just automatically enroll them and then give them the option if they want to opt out.
Okay.
So you don't
Okay.
want to like ask them like, hey, do you want winter services? Because like a lot of them are just like, no, the grass isn't growing. So we just say, hey, look, this is what we do. This is our process. We're about quality, taking care of you. And guess what? If we show up to the property and there's no leaves, bushes are trimmed because we did it 2 weeks ago, and there's no weeds to be pulled because there's not much growing in the winter, we just skip you. And there's no charge for that visit. So there's no loss to you. We're not going to just create busy work, which partially it kind of is, but in the customer's mind, and we do skip a lot in February because in December and January, you're typically will be picking up leaves, trimming the bushes, but by like the 5th or 6th visit come Feb, I mean, there's really not much to do. So, a monthly mow in the winter we do too, by the way.
Okay. Okay.
So like
Okay.
if we like, and again, the grass doesn't really grow, but weeds do. We can edge the sidewalk, driveway, and curb, and we just take it down a little bit. I mean, we're cutting dormant grass, so we
Right.
just take it down a little bit, but you can still see the mow lines, and just makes it look cleaner. Some customers like that if they host like Christmas parties and stuff. So, but yeah, and most of the time by February we are skipping probably half of our lawns by that time to where we're not
Yeah.
charging the customer.
When do you start back up? Would you say like March? I mean, here you could almost start last week of February.
Yeah, we do typically get a weird freeze up here in mid-Feb.
Yeah, you guys do.
So ours is March 1st though. March 1st
Yeah.
is when we
Okay.
start. And then as long as there are weird times where first week in March, it's kind of cold.
Hmm.
As long as
Hmm.
the temperatures are above 32 degrees, it is safe to cut the grass.
Okay.
You don't want to cut it when it's below that. So if we get a cold front that comes through in early March, we'll just do late starts for our crews until the sun comes out and warms things up to where instead of starting at 8 a.m., we may start them at like 10. And then by like 10, 11, 12, 1, it's pretty safe to mow the lawns. It's above 32 degrees.
Okay. Cool. Well, I really appreciate it, man.
Awesome, man.
It's
Hey,
been
Kevin,
great
I
information.
really appreciate you jumping on. You had some really good questions, and yeah, man, you're gonna crush it. So 20 customers this year, I would set a benchmark and incentivize that person, and just know they may not be the best person that shows up and is super reliable and super communicative, but if we can just get 20 recurring customers this season, that's a big win, and that'll set you up to hit the ground running next spring for
Okay.
sure.
Awesome. We're
Cool,
gonna
man.
do it.
Awesome.